what's up?
Six water and light, sugar and 6 CO2. Stu! I didn't know you were coming to Makeup Lab today. This is a music producer and my rap star. We're filming a music video for the rap, Photosynthesis Respiration. You'll have to come back and Makeup Lab later, okay? See ya. We're laying down some tight tracks.
Hey, Miss Carlisle, are we really doing that rapping class today?
Yeah, that photosynthesis and respiration rap.
Oh man, Stu told me about that. He says you can't rap.
Oh man.
I can't rap?
Oh.
Stu said I can't rap? Kick it.
Photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis, respiration, 6 CO2, 6 water, light, sugar and 6 CO2. Photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis, respiration, 6 CO2, 6 water, light, sugar and 6 CO2. Photosynthesis, respiration, we shall live without respiration. It's the sunlight, it's the light, in each beat from chloroplasts, chloroplasts like factories, making sugar function. Photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis, respiration, 6 CO2, 6 water, light, sugar and 6 CO2. Photosynthesis has 2 parts, called green, light and dark. These like to get things done, using photosystems 2 and 1. Now, name the dark reaction, which must give him satisfaction. Calvin takes HP and CO2 to make sugar for meat and meat. Photosynthesis, now you're done, summed up by this equation. Photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis, respiration, 6 CO2, 6 water, light, sugar and 6 CO2. Respiration, photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis, sugar and 6 O2, heat, 6 water and 6 CO2. Respiration is on the flip side, breaking down the plasma with pride. ATP, the ultimate goal, cells burning it like it was coal. P plus ADP makes ATP for cells a rechargeable battery. Respiration, photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis. Sugar and 6 O2, heat, 6 water and 6 CO2. Cellular respiration starts with food, so much more than what we chew. Respiration has many parts, wrapping them together would be some art. We must chew and then digest. In our cells we do no less. Sugar we half, I must confess, and we call this glycolysis. Respiration, photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis. Sugar and 6 O2, heat, 6 water and 6 CO2. Broken sugar is called pyruvate. Does it look like what you ate? Hey, what about ATP? Ain't that where we're supposed to be? Hey, I'm telling you, it happens in the mitochondria. Pyruvate is made into ATP through the Krebs cycle into ETC. Respiration, photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis. Sugar and 6 O2, heat, 6 water and 6 CO2. Respiration is aerobic, you see, because 1 sugar nets 36 ATP. When you don't have enough O2, fermentation's what you got to do. Lactic acid or alcoholic, 2 ATP is all you're gonna get. Respiration, now you're done, summed up by this equation. Respiration, photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis. Sugar and 6 O2, heat, 6 water and 6 CO2. Photosynthesis and respiration, we have learned without frustration. It's up to you, now do the rest. Now go and study for your test. Word. Photosynthesis and respiration are two of the hardest things that you're ever going to have to learn in a Biology 1 class. So knowing that you are visual learners, sometimes you learn better with diagrams and examples more than with words necessarily, have set up this demonstration. So let's look. CO2 plus water. Also got to have some light. In the chloroplast yields sugar and a little waste oxygen. That's photosynthesis, and it happens in a plant, hence the chloroplast. But what if I turned this around and I replaced the chloroplast with my flip-flop mitochondria? Then, instead of light needed, it would be heat given off. So then we would take oxygen and sugar, make ATP, and give off waste water and waste CO2. Mind blown? Let's look. Photosynthesis requires the energy of sunlight. Happens in plants, algae, and some bacteria. Water goes in, oxygen goes out. Water goes in, oxygen comes out. CO2 comes in, sugars come out. CO2 goes in, sugars come out. On the respiration side, sugars go in, CO2 comes out, sugar goes in, CO2 comes out, oxygen goes in, water comes out, oxygen goes in, water comes out, and this releases stored useful chemical bond energy in the form of ATP. So again, photosynthesis and respiration, products of one are the reactants of the other. Once again, they are mirror processes, mirror images of each other. I can't line them up this way or that way. I have to bring them together so that the reactants of one are the products of the other, and the reactants of one are the products of the other. And that is your base tutorial for photosynthesis and respiration. Hi, Stu. Thanks for coming back. Now, we were in the middle of filming that music video, which will be debuted later. I'm talking worldwide release here, as we've been studying photosynthesis, respiration, photosynthesis. Well, you'll see later. Okay? He's really kind of cool. So, we've been studying photosynthesis and respiration for a little bit. Photosynthesis, respiration. Okay, on to the lab. And what we really want to prove with this lab is that photosynthesis really happens, that respiration really happens, that light and CO2 are required for photosynthesis, and we need some way to directly measure that. And so you have all of this stuff here, bromethymol blue, some aquatic plants, some water, test tubes, stoppers, a pipette to deliver things, and I'm going to need one thing from you, and that's CO2. So you can give me CO2. Do you know how to give me CO2? Yes, you're going to exhale, and it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to take one of these and make you a straw, and it will be epic. Epic. But first we need to talk about what we need. So here on the sheet, we have 3 test tubes. What we need to understand is that bromethymol blue is a color change indicator. That means just like the blinkers on your car, it changes color to tell you something. In this case, bromethymol blue goes from blue to yellow in response to pH. And what would change pH? Well, CO2, as the byproduct of respiration, lowers the pH of your blood, and as you exhale, what you exhale has a slightly lower pH. So if we bubble what you exhale into the test tubes, then what we can know then, the pH will go down, this will go from blue to yellow, and we can expose it to light, and we can see what we need to know. But first, we need to decide what needs to go where. So, we have 3 test tubes and 3 stoppers.
The stoppers are there to make sure there's no gas exchange from inside and outside the environment. We only have 2 pieces of plant. I was looking for a green marker. We'll just have to draw it with this. So here's my plant, and here's my plant. Okay, no plant here. Probably going to be a control. So water, 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 plant, plant, no plant. BTB, 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 our color change indicator. Why don't we add CO2 to this one and to that one, and none here? Light, why don't we give this one light and this one light, and the stopper, and the stopper. Now, I am setting up this one to prove photosynthesis. I'm setting up this one to prove respiration, and I'm setting up this one as the control. And I can actually write upside down and backwards. Yeah. Alright, so this is what we're going to put into each test tube and look at the results that we get before and after. So, the first start is to get full test tubes of water. Let's get you to do that. Why don't you bring the water up to the bottom of each of the labels? Great job. Probably better label our tubes A, B, and C to correspond with A, B, and C. A little of an aquatic plant I fished out of my fish tank. Now, it's a pretty good idea. There are many different types of aquatic plants. This is a form of moss. We want to use about the same amount, but I'm not going to go so far as to weigh it. So I'm going to tuck that into there and that into there. Could you use that pipette to kind of squish it down in? This needs to be under the water. Just a little deeper. Yeah, a little more. Yeah. Alright. No plant in C. Alright, BTB. Let's start with 5 drops in all 3 tubes. It's a nice cerulean blue. Blue doesn't want to get past the plant. They're all about the same amount of blue, wouldn't you say? Alright, so BTB, light, CO2, stopper. Okay, so now we need the CO2. You remember that I said you were going to exhale CO2. So I'm going to cut this off to make it a straw. And then you are going to park yourself over the test tube with this just at the surface, and you are going to gently exhale, making little bubbles. Okay? So eventually, over time, this will turn from blue to yellow. You might need to cap it, swish it up and down, and keep going until it's a nice yellow color. To do this, I'm going to have you hunch over the bench a little bit, and I'm going to put a towel underneath you to catch any bubbles. There's your straw. So respiration gives off CO2 from the sugars that you've broken down to make cellular fuel. It's going a little green now. Keep going. Keep going. Let's see what we got. You can keep the straw. really yellow. We did it. See, as the CO2 goes down, you get kind of a gradient, and then I mix it and it's all yellow. All right, so let's do our checklist. This one got water, plant, BTB. You provided the CO2. We will put it under a light, and oops, it needs the stopper. This one got water, plant, BTB, no CO2. It will not get light, and it needs a stopper. Great. This one got water, no plant, BTB, yes to CO2, it will get light, and it will be stoppered. So, this tube is starting out yellow, this tube is starting out blue, and this tube is starting out yellow. Now, if photosynthesis happens, this tube should turn blue, because the plant, in the presence of light, should take the CO2 out of the solution and make it into sugar. So if this tube turns blue, photosynthesis has happened, and light and CO2 provided by you was needed. This tube is blue. It should turn yellow if respiration happens. We will know respiration has happened because this plant will break down its storage sugar and give off CO2, just like what you provided. This tube is a control. It's got no plant, and this tube is really a proof to prove that this dye with CO2 just doesn't spontaneously turn from yellow to blue. And so this is what we need to prove. It's going to take maybe an hour. So if you want to go back to your class that you're getting out of and come back in about 60 minutes, we should have a result. Thanks. Welcome back, Stu. Now let's check on the results of this lab. So you remember before that we had 3 test tubes, A, B, and C, and we were wanting to prove that photosynthesis happened with this tube, respiration happened with this tube, and that this one was a control. We were trying to prove that light and CO2 were necessary. So what we had was this tube and this tube, and then we have the dark tube. This tube was yellow. Yellow meant that there was CO2 in the solution, that the plant did photosynthesis with a little light and pulled out that CO2 to make sugar. This is the same plant that we kept in the dark. It used its storage sugar, pulling it out of its storage, and released waste CO2, which changed the pH of the solution from blue to yellow. This is the control. It looked the same as it did an hour ago. So now we can ask ourselves, describe the color changes in the test tubes, switches from blue to green. Which test tube proves that light is necessary and why? This one, because we had the color change from yellow to blue as the CO2 was used. Which tube proves that CO2 is necessary and why? Again, I'd probably say this one, because the CO2 was pulled out of the solution and used to make sugar. What's the third tube for? It's control for the method to make sure that this compound in water just doesn't spontaneously change color. And now you just need to tell me, how does this experiment prove that photosynthesis and respiration occur? And one more lab made up. Maybe one of these days you'll come to the lab and not the makeup lab.
The diagram below shows the relationship between photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Which statement best describes the interdependence of photosynthesis and cellular respiration? A. The products of photosynthesis are carbon dioxide and water to be used in cellular respiration. B. The reactants of photosynthesis are the products of cellular respiration. C. The reactants of photosynthesis are sugar and oxygen to be used in cellular respiration. Or D. The products of photosynthesis are the same as the products of cellular respiration. Two test tubes are filled with a solution of bromothymol blue. A student exhales through a straw into each tube, and the bromothymol blue turns yellow. An aquatic green plant is placed in each tube, and the tubes are corked. One tube is placed in the dark, and the other tube is placed in direct light. The yellow solution in the tube in sunlight turns blue, while the other one in the dark room remains yellow. Which statement best explains why the solution in the tube placed in the sunlight returns to a blue color? A. Oxygen was produced by photosynthesis. B. Oxygen was removed by respiration. C. Carbon dioxide was removed by photosynthesis. D. Carbon dioxide was produced by respiration.